As the president's latest nominee for the Supreme Court, Elena Kagan made her courtesy calls on Capitol Hill yesterday. A new poll out just this morning shows that the Democratic majority in Congress could be in more danger than ever. Here to debate all that this morning, our dueling strategist, James Carville for the Democrats, Bay Buchanan for the Republicans. Welcome to you both. And let me start out with that poll in the Wall Street Journal. It shows that when voters look ahead to this November midterm election, they're split over whether or not they want Democrats or Republicans to control the Congress, 44-44. But then you dig into it and say, when you just talk to the voters who are most likely to show up at the polls in November, a huge advantage for the Republicans. 56 for the Republicans, only 36 for Democrats. James Carville, this is the worst warning sign yet for the Democrats.
It's not good, and we've consistently shown that in our Democracy Corps polling. There's some evidence that this gap is starting to tighten slightly, but it's going to have to do more than tighten slightly. In a 2012 election, we'd do much better, but unfortunately, we got to run this thing in 2010. And the Democrats need a strategy to re-energize some of their voters. This finding is very consistent and very true with other things that I've seen.
Bay, Karl Rove writes in the Wall Street Journal today that this could be an epic election for the Republicans.
Yeah, I think there is a real problem. I agree with James, no question, but it's not, I'd like to tell you it's all pro-Republican and they want to come our way, but it's really an anti-incumbency, anti-Washington, and that's the Democrats. They're going to vote against what the Democrats have done in the last couple of years, and so Republicans are going to benefit. I'm just hoping that those who do benefit, those Republicans, are new, fresh faces and not part of our old establishment, because America is not interested in bringing back what we gave them for 8 years. They want new, real new faces, new energy, new leadership in this country.
And of course, Bay, to prove your point, the Republican incumbent in Utah lost his primary, Bob Bennett, over the weekend to Tea Party activists. James Carville, you talked about the Democratic strategy to limit losses. You know, you've seen over the last month, health care passes, jobs are being created. The president has an arms control agreement with the Russians, yet nothing seems to move these numbers.
Well, I think the White House is acutely aware of that, as are other Democratic strategists. I mean, the hope is that job numbers continue to come in at an impressive rate, and it starts to. And that's a possibility. That's one that Democrats have to hold out hope for. And also that as Election Day gets closer, that 39% of the Democrats that are energized as opposed to the 56% of the Republicans, that number begins to close. And if that happens, then you could avoid catastrophic losses. But right now, I don't think, in fairness, truthfully, you can say the election were held today, we would be faced with that. As Democrats would be faced with some pretty staggering
losing
losses.
Control?
Oh, yeah, absolutely possible. If the election were today, but it's not. And the chances that number closes are much better than it stays open, and the effect of continued job numbers at some point, I think, is going to have some effect on the political atmosphere.
Let's turn.
George, I think there's a real problem here for Democrats, because what's motivating these voters is this huge debt that we have, this increasing deficit, the incredible unwillingness for Washington to get control of the spending. It's outrageous, and people are unnerved by it as they pull in their belts. And communities and states are pulling in theirs. Washington just keeps spending as that's the only solution. You can't solve that in the next 6 months, and I think that's where the voters are going to come to the ballot and say, get rid of these guys and bring in somebody who will get some control.
Let's turn to Elena Kagan, the president's nominee for the Supreme Court. She was making her courtesy calls yesterday. Here she is with Republican Orrin Hatch.
It's great to be here. It's a beautiful office.
There's some nice stuff here. You're going to get mad. There's the Man of the Year from the National Rifle Association. So it's a piece of art, really. It's
beautiful.
It's a handmade flintlock, and it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
I'll never shoot it.
James, she's not going to say anything there to hurt her chances. But, you know, the White House has this 48-hour rule saying that the nominations are won and lost in the first 48 hours. Is this one already over?
This one? Yeah. I mean, barring something that no one is foreseen, I don't think there's a person in the world I think there's any chance of derailing this nomination. But since actually better not be too nice to her, they might brew him at some tea party here in the next election.
Bay?
There's no question, George, that she'll be confirmed, in my opinion. But the key is you can't. I don't understand for the life of me why, when the left has control of the Senate as they do, that Obama would not put up one of the best and the brightest. This woman is not one of the finest, liberal judicial minds in the country. She doesn't have any kind of record slate. She's got the blank slate, and she's like a Harriet Mier with a Harvard twist here. I just, for the life of me, don't understand why they don't get the best and the brightest really fight for one of their Scalias, but they don't.
I think you'll find a lot of, we're out of time, but I think you'll find a lot of Democrats to debate that point. We'll get into it next week, I'm sure. Thank you both very much.